Okay. We're live on this. Okay, hold on. Brooks, if you and Cole are going to be talking a whole bunch, you have to leave. Just letting you know. Okay.
So step one, I think we just kind of set out clear definitions of what each tier should be.
Mm-hmm.
So for S tier, basically just a great pick in any circumstances with minimal or no like glaring counters. A would be still great characters pretty much everywhere, but they might have some specific weaknesses that can be exploited a little easier than S tier.
I would
B,
say even not even necessarily specific weaknesses, but there could be something in S tier that does their job better.
yeah. And then when you get into B, that's start where like they're still good picks, probably generally viable, but they will definitely have some weaknesses that can be exploited. C even more so when you're starting to get closer niche where characters are definitely playable and you can make it work in most circumstances, but there's going to be problems that can be exploited.
And
then,
if you're playing like a C tier character, it's just because you genuinely enjoy the character.
yeah, and like again, like a good player can make a C tier character work in most circumstances. But there might be some situations that are so bad, or like there's like a hard counter maybe where you might have to swap, or you're gonna be in risk of throwing. Then D tier, now we're in actual niche. Character is gonna be outperformed in most circumstances. They probably have some very strong weaknesses and counters, but they have a niche where like they shine at one specific task. And then F tier, character has little to none redeeming qualities. They have other characters that do what they do better in pretty much all circumstances, and they probably have some really strong weaknesses. Sound good to everyone?
Sounds good to me.
And then as far as the standard of like how we're judging the effectiveness of these heroes, this will be the assumption that the hero is in the hands of someone who's very proficient in them, not necessarily pro tier, but they can hold their own as best as the character can in most matchups.
Yeah, at least above average competent.
Yeah,
at least.
Now, I'm assuming we're just going to go down this alphabetically, or do we want to like?
So, I think we do
change
something similar that we did last time, which is probably start with tanks, and then we can go to supports and then end off with DPS. If you guys are good with that.
Yeah, that works for me.
And I just added an on deck thing here just so for recording purposes and so we know like just what character we're talking about at any given time. Essentially, yeah. I'm just gonna move them there, and it just makes it a little easier to see things, so I don't have to be sitting here going, without dragging stuff around. So, anyways, so are we good to start? Everybody ready?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so we're gonna start tanks first. We'll start with D.Va. Any hard opinions on D.Va? D.Va is, I feel like, the tank that we see the least right now.
I was gonna say I definitely see D.Va the least. Almost nobody's playing D.Va right now, and I think that's because Ball and Winston pretty much do everything she does as effectively or better in basically every comp that I can think of. So
yeah,
I would have to say.
I think it could be too because she's also a little boring on the boring side to play too. So I mean, maybe that's not why you're seeing her so much.
I mean, so I would say she goes C because she's still a good dive tank. And there are better dive tanks, but I think a good D.Va can still put some work in.
Yeah, I think C's fine in my opinion for D.Va as well. I think she's still she still has a good spot, and she may even be just as effective as some of these other tanks. I just haven't seen enough to really say one way or another if she is.
I can't tell you how many games we played the other day where we were just getting completely spammed out. Whereas like, fuck, I wish we had the Matrix just to push through this little angle just to get us through.
And it's funny you bring that up because I think that's gonna become a central point in the conversations. I think because I actually think I know me and Marlon both had seen something or had said something about dive characters and the dive meta being kind of good right now. I actually may think that more of a spam meta may be evolving. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, with how strong like Sojourn is with the spam right now, man, because you can charge the fucking right click.
Yeah, and not to say the dive is weak by any means, but I've seen some spam comps just fucking do work right now. And so like I see potential for D.Va to actually be pretty good in some of those comps, having the ability to contest high ground still while helping to deal with spam a little bit with her defense matrix, very targeted spam, obviously. But yeah, I mean,
see in the 5v5 D.Va being less of like the dive tank, is more of like the okay, let's push through this choke now through all this spam, and
she also has great peel potential for her backline and stuff too, right? Sure. Like, I think there's a lot of potential. We just haven't seen it.
And right? I think the reason with all that she stays in C instead of B is that she has all that flexibility, but it's very targeted. Whereas other tanks have more of an area of control. Hers is more of a line of control, and it's a very short line.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I agree.
I think C is fine for her, for sure. So, all right, next on deck is Doomfist.
You always have D.Va Bomb as like the world's biggest get the fuck out. So.
Yeah, true. Yeah, and so, I mean, and Osa died to a remake from the D.Va earlier, so you know that was.
Dude, that shit is so funny, man. I'm so glad Overwatch added that because that is so fucking funny.
That and the point blank grind slam are just great. Dude, they're not really useful tools, but they're always hilarious.
Yeah, but it's even like when he died to it earlier, like he was laughing about it, right? Because it was just so comical that it happened.
Not easy to pull off too. I've tried doing it on D.Va. It's not that easy.
No, it's really not. Yeah, it's just really funny though. All right, Doomfist.
I think his like skill ceiling still hasn't been like reached yet. Like, there's so much you can do with this guy.
I agree.
Like, it's hard not to put him on like the higher end of the spectrum, man.
So I'm torn between A and B here because they kind of removed some of his tanking potential with this nerfs he got. He has basically. Like the removing of his slow is the big one. Like his slam serves almost no purpose now except for mobility. It's like not useful as an attack at all anymore.
So, yeah, Doom is going to be my first hot take, I think.
And so, like, I've still seen some nutty Dooms pull stuff off, but they're basically playing fat DPS Doom. You know, they're not really tanking anymore. And especially with the way they nerfed his shield, I don't think he's a very good tank. He's still a really good assassin. If you're really, really good with him. But, you know, he's just harder to secure kills with than he was as a DPS, and he's not as good of a tank since the nerfs. So I might even go for C with him, honestly.
I think with this like new spam type shit we've been seeing a lot lately, I think, it puts him on the lower end. But if you don't have a scenario where they're constantly spamming into him, he still has the potential to completely carry it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thinking C because
but I'm going to tell you
that potential. Yeah,
I'm going to tell you right now. This is why I said this is my first hot take. I actually think he's D tier.
D tier, huh?
No joke. Okay, and here's my reasoning. First of all, like you said, the slam serves essentially no purpose anymore, right? It is that slam was the slow on it was actually way more important than I ever imagined it was going to be. I played a decent bit of Doomfist over the past couple days, especially this morning. I was playing a bunch, and then. Like obviously like alternating off of him from like Junker Queen and stuff a little bit that we've been playing, and he is, man, he's just not good. He really struggles to maintain effectiveness against a lot of what is good right now, and I think that's the biggest thing. Is first of all, supports as a whole got a massive buff. Supports feel strong right now. They are more enabled than they've ever been. Has a little bit to do with what supports are being played, but that helps a lot when the Doomfist dives in. Second of all, the reduction in his damage reduction from his E from 90% to 80%, dude, he feels like he takes so much fucking damage.
He literally takes twice as much damage from that now.
It is crazy. And that, in addition to the slam not really doing much effectively as any sort of CC, he has hard times keeping locked onto people, and even when he does, he melts. And here's another reason. Zen being so prominent, Discord destroys Doomfist.
I was going to say, when I see a Doomfist guard in front of me as Zen, like, I punish him, and he dies most of the time.
He is... And here's the thing. The only thing he has anymore is mobility, right? His damage is still okay. He serves as a potentially okay assassin. I don't even think he's that good at it anymore, though. I'm gonna be honest. He's gonna need some major buffs, and I really think there's only niche cases where Doomfist is actually effective, or even like that you would want to pick him over other tanks, like other than like wanting to play him just because he can be fun to play. But dude, he struggles. He doesn't struggle to get in, but once he gets in, he struggles to do anything against the current characters that are being played right now. Supports have the ability to deal with him better than they ever have before. He has no effectiveness from the slam. He just gets melted, and like can barely get out. If your team is even somewhat conscious of where that Doomfist is at, then he just gets crapped on. I think he has done a complete 180 from the last beta, where I thought he was insanely strong, and I think he is kind of not very good right now. I seriously think he's D. I can place him in low C though, if that's where we want to place him. I just don't see a reason to pick him at the moment.
I mean, yeah, you could throw him in like D tier for now, but I still think if we put him in capable hands, like I get it. Like us, yeah, we've been punishing Dooms, but we're not playing against.
I'm talking about even
hands.
when I'm playing Doom though. I've played more Doom than anyone else in this Discord to a very large degree. Even the new Doom, I've played a fair amount. And last patch, I was destroying people on Doom. I still have moments of like doing some really good things, but that's where the niche thing comes in. You have to play him in a very particular way, and I have to be super careful. I can't face tank things like you used to be able to. Not that you really want to, anyways. But just in the scenarios where you're going to inevitably take damage, you take a lot of it, and it is hard to even get out. And I just don't. I think he really struggles right now, even in capable hands, unless you are a legit like top 1% Doomfist. I think he's not good.
Yep. I mean, I'm okay with him in D tier after that.
Yeah.
So, all right. Next is Wrecking Ball.
So, I've been thinking about this a lot. I'm having a hard time figuring out what changed. But Ball definitely feels a lot better this patch than he did. And he didn't get any direct changes. But he just,
which is weird because you
he
think
he did get changes. I thought. I think he can his boop distance got changed to where he can like double boop and stuff again.
Did they really?
Yeah. That. I'm like 90% sure he can like do some big boop plays and stuff now.
Here, I'm gonna pull up the patch notes.
I haven't pulled up right now.
With the with how strong supports are right now, you'd think something like Ball would like tend to struggle, but I haven't seen a Ball like really get shit on too much in this beta. Like he seems to do just fine.
It's not okay.
Yeah, there's no notes for Wrecking Ball.
There's not. I know, but I swear it was either this one or it was the one before. They changed something about his boop. I was just watching something on this.
Could have been something changed on live, and not so much beta.
Maybe.
Because there was patch. But
that would have been patching live.
But I don't know if like live patch notes would like carry over. Like if they changed it to where you could double.
It's something like that, man. Because they've been playing him in Overwatch League too, to like great effect.
But even like I haven't been making any attempts to do any crazy double boops or anything, so that doesn't really affect my viewpoint of it, and he still feels much stronger.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's tricky where I want to put him because of that. Because like we talked about, supports are still really strong right now, and supports are some of Ball's biggest counters. So he's definitely not S tier. I'm kind of torn between A and B here, and I'm leaning more towards B because I still think he's got some pretty hefty weaknesses. I still think he's relatively punishable compared to some of the other tanks, and it's just harder to tank with him in general than like Winston.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I mean, I think I agree with B. I think B seems fine. He just seems much better right now.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't seen Balls tend to struggle. Like when I've had him on my team, they're a terror as a DPS.
He seems to
team. Like,
he seems to be roaming like pretty freely. They kind of get to do what they want. Yeah, there's certain situations where he can still get shut down hard. I still think Sombra just obliterates Ball like she always has. Yeah. But that being removed, like I don't think he's in nearly as bad of a state, and I don't know if maybe it's some of the changes the other tanks have had, or what it is necessarily. Maybe it's some of the DPS changes. I'm not sure, but yeah, he does feel better this patch, in my opinion. So yeah, I think B's good. Any arguments there?
No,
Nope.
works for me.
All right. Arisa's next.
I think Arisa still has the same issues as the first beta, where you just ignore her, kill her team, and then fight her after. I think with you being able to headshot her now when she's golden is actually pretty big as like a counter to her. I think the addition to her her boop distance on her I think it's her shift. I don't think that made her any better. I think it just made her more obnoxious.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I want to go over like what exactly changed with her, right? So you got with her actual basic her regular left click, right? Her damage actually got increased from 10 to 12 per round. Her projectile size no longer scales with distance. The initial size is reduced, so it's like a fair bit smaller basically. And the here's the thing though, her critical damage bonus got doubled, right? So or it went from 50% to 100%. So I think
but more rewarding to hit.
Right. So it is like more effective to she can pump out more damage now is the bottom line there, right? Her damage fall off maximum it was reduced. I think the fall off penalty was reduced as well. So like she does more damage overall for like spam, right? Fortify had the movement speed penalty removed, which I think is a pretty big deal. But then obviously she had the headshot immunity removed.
Which is I think is a good trade off. So
I agree.
So my thing with the Orisa, and I haven't really played her this patch, but just from playing against her, and for just my sort of opinion of the changes overall, I think she would be a great tank in this meta with most of these changes because now her spam damage is strong again. It's still not as strong as it was in Overwatch 1, but it's strong enough that you can probably contest people at better ranges now to where you can actually like hold a line of sight with it for the most part if it's not like an egregious widow line. So you've got that range pressure back. Her javelin is less damage but more of a CC.
It's up
and
more
so
often.
that's what I'm going to talk about. Her javelin.
It's up more often too. They reduced the cooldown from 10 to 7 seconds.
And so those combined, she's got much stronger ranged poke. And I think that plays into her new kit a lot better than people expect. Because I've seen some people complain that they're like, you know, with this moving, pushing her back, like she needs her shield back to be effective. And I don't think that's true. Because
I don't think so either.
What she can do now is she uses her poke to just pressure long lines. And she can sit back with a spam comp and just hold a distant point. If the enemy team tries to dive that position, now she can use things like her spin and fortify to remove that pressure from her team and sort of gain some of that distance back for her team. Now she's going to have to go into a brawl distance where she loses a lot of her effectiveness, but it allows her to create space for the rest of her spam team.
Yeah, and I think that she can't brawl too. It's not.
Yeah, she's still a decent brawl tank, right? It's not her strength, but she's got tools for it. And I think all of that together would make her an A tier tank, except for the fortify change. Her being able to get headshot with her Winston-sized head in fortify kills her.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that applies to the fortify while she's ulting. And while she's ulting,
her ult is a death sentence.
Yeah, while she's ulting, she doesn't benefit from that move speed change from fortify, right? Because she's stationary. So a stationary fortified Orisa, she may be fortified, but she's going to eat all of that damage to the head because it's the easiest head hitbox in the world to hit while she's stationary. It doesn't matter. They like doubled the damage on her ult, I think, as well. And
they made it ramp up faster.
Yeah, and it just doesn't matter, right? Like it went from here. I had it pulled up. Yeah, so max damage is actually increased from 275 to 500, right? I don't think it matters because you're not getting to that 500 damage. You're gonna die.
Yeah,
like just straight up.
No, I agree.
So I think she's a B tier tank. In my opinion.
Well, I almost want to go C, man, because especially in the current meta, that head hitbox is just atrocious. They need to either make her hitbox much more reasonable or just go back to her not being able to get headshot.
My thing is like, so right now, like the hardest thing to do in the game outside of supports is to peel the backline, and her javelin is a fantastic.
It's really good for it.
So I think that's what should at least keep her in B, is because there is no like real solid way unless like the tank literally turns around and starts fighting whoever's diving the backline.
Well,
she can
I
do that.
definitely
She could
agree.
potentially do that from range and create distance for those supports while not necessarily leaving the front line. Yeah, her getting headshot while she's fortified does suck. It does hinder, but I still think she has more upside to the rest of her kit.
Yeah, and I also still think that if we end up going in the direction that I think we are, which is I think we're going toward the spam meta, if that ends up happening, I think she fits within it. I think she can, in her new iteration, actually be involved in a spam meta in some degree. Maybe
Yeah,
not
because I mean,
necessarily
as
as good
far
as some
as
other tanks,
tanks
but
go, like I don't know what other tank you would throw into a
Sigma,
quote unquote
Sigma.
Sigma would
Sigma's going
work.
to be the best one. But
Zarya would be okay, but I think even Zarya is gonna, she's not gonna really be able to do much.
Yeah,
But I
Zarya's
think
more of a
Orisa,
brawl.
yeah,
I think Orisa would, and if we are going towards this spam meta, I think Orisa would actually be, probably the second best tank to pick into it at that
right.
point.
And I think that obviously you're still going to run into a lot of dive, and I think she has the potential to be able to deal with that now. While she's fortified, she can, because of that move speed, she can more effectively get to her backline to peel for them now. Right?
Yeah.
I've noticed it way more. The amount of times that I've dove the backline, whether it be on a tank or on a DPS, and I've had a freaking bull just charging at me from where I thought she was on the front line, even though she's fortified, it happens a lot more now.
Yeah, the
Like
displacement on her spin is strong.
it is. It really is. And so I think that she has one of the more effective backline peels. And so I think she's just barely in B tier for me.
Yeah, she's definitely been the lower end of B tier, but I definitely think she at least deserves B tier for right now. Especially with like where we think the meta shifting. Because I can't tell how many freaking times, man, where I dive in the backline as like, a Genji or Sojourn or something. I almost have this on the dead and I catch a fucking spear from Narnia
Right.
that, it gives them enough space to then live and possibly kill me. So I think her spear is kind of what is carrying her into B tier.
Yeah, I agree. Her javelin's very good.
Yeah, I'm okay with
So
B.
yeah. All right.
But yeah, we could definitely
B
put her on
tier.
the lower end of B, but I think B is justifiable.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. All right. Reinhardt next.
I think if we're going into the spam meta, I don't think Reinhardt's going to do very well.
I don't think he is either. And I'm going to be honest. This might be. I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but Junker Queen's obviously very popular right now. Regardless, we'll get to her as far as like how effective she is. She shits on Ryan, straight up. I trust me.
Yeah, Ryan can't win.
He can't fight her.
He can't brawl with her.
He literally can't.
brawl
He's
with
got
her.
to. He has to have help from his supports in order to do so, which is great, right? Like if his supports are helping him, he does have a lot of potential. If Anna is landing a anti-nade on the Junker Queen or something like that, then obviously like that aids him a lot. But straight up, it's hard for him to brawl with her, man, at all. And then she has such an incredible ability to displace him during anything he does. He can't effectively get charges off. Like it's a bad matchup for him. And then
The only thing that like really keeps Ryan alive is he still has Slam. Slam really is
he
what carries
does,
Ryan.
but I tell you what, every Ryan that has slammed me, even when I like ult as Junker Queen and stuff, he still gets antied, which means he still dies.
Yeah, he's gonna get anti. Now his team might not, but
his team might
still,
not. Yeah, but
that's one of those.
The last time I'm remembering though, the last time that it happened to me, again, like I antied the Ryan still, he died instantly. I got back up and just pushed into the back line and was able to continue killing people.
Well, here's the thing I'll say. I think Ryan should be C at least, because I do think with how the current meta is going, he's weaker, yes, but there's also a lot less chance that someone's going to be able to block his slam. So I think his slam is going to be a lot stronger.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what will keep him in C tier, in my opinion.
I agree. No,
like I was saying, you can't
sure.
ignore Ryan's Slam. Ryan's Slam is still a huge playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes it gets occasionally blocked, but for the most part, like that wins fights.
And it charges much quicker than Junker Queen's ult does.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and I still think I'm not like super down playing Ryan. I still think he has his uses and he's gonna fit into some comps like really well and stuff like that. He's gonna struggle in a spam meta. If we go to a spam meta, you won't be able to play him. And then if you run into some sort of brawl meta where you're seeing a lot of Junker Queen, I also think he's gonna be hard to play. Right? Like he's going to see some usefulness, and maybe you can win the matchup sometimes if you have some really good supports or you know how to play around it, or you effectively use your slams to win fights and stuff. Like that's still possible, but by and large, I think he still loses the matchup.
In a brawl meta, I think we're in kind of a rock paper scissors situation between Ryan, Zarya, and Junker Queen.
I agree.
I think Zarya would be the move, though. I think Zarya is just overall better with the ability to double bubble herself and be able to bubble her allies.
Yeah, I think
I don't think Ryan can even put down his shield really when she's up in his face.
I wouldn't go that far. I think overall, I think Zarya is the strongest brawl tank, but I think Ryan is a little favored in their matchup. And conversely, Ryan is weak in the Junker Queen matchup, but also Junker Queen is weak to Zarya overall.
Yeah,
so I think
sure.
it is kind of a trifecta there.
It is, but I still think Ryan in C tier works, right? Like I think that's effectively where he should probably be, right? Everybody good with that?
Yep.
All right.
You can
big boy,
move him up one.
Big boy Hawk.
Go ahead and move him up one.
Well, okay.
I don't think
he's F tier.
I don't think he's F tier either, but man, he struggles, dude.
But I can't really justify him going above D.
Yeah,
I would agree with D. Like, I mean, the hook is always, it's a nice thing. It can secure kills 80% of the time. But he just doesn't really fit into anything right now.
It's basically the reason he is still viable to some degree is for when your team cannot deal with flankers and they need some hard CC.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if you got an enemy ball rolling over your team, and there's literally nothing you can do about it. Yeah, I mean Hog.
Yeah, I mean that hard CC is obviously, it has exactly what it says. It's a niche scenario where Hog is still somewhat effective, and I think he can still carry some games in the ranked, on the ranked ladder, especially for a good Hog, but he just struggles, man. Like he's such a and here's the thing too, man. He is obviously tanks have the benefit of they don't charge ult as fast as what they used to, right? So they can't necessarily be ult batteries. You know what he is a battery for though? Sojourn Railgun.
Yep.
Dude, he is the easiest battery for that railgun in the game right now, even over shields. And he just gets shit on by her, dude. It's so bad.
And not only that, like you charge it and then immediately turn to a squishy because it's not like you can put up a fucking shield.
Right.
You can immediately turn to a squishy and pop a squishy,
Yeah.
And then go right back to charging it because you still have enough bullets in your magazine to charge another 100 charge with Sojourn.
Yeah.
To then repeat the process.
That's why at least Junker Queen has that small hitbox. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Hog being the big fucking hog that he is, it doesn't do him any favors there. I don't think we need to spend much time there. And I
mean Sojourn does the same thing with Orisa. At least Orisa could potentially block a bullet, but if that Sojourn's throwing 100 charges at Orisa and it's not planning on killing.
Yeah, she has so many more upsides though. Like
she definitely does.
It's just he's not.
But that's like a Sojourn thing later. So
yeah. All right, Sigma.
Again, if we're sticking on this topic of we're potentially going into spam meta, he's going to be pretty insane.
I think Sigma's S tier.
You think S tier? I'm thinking because I was thinking
he just got the most well-rounded kit of any tank right now.
He does. His kit is loaded, and that is a big thing. I'm trying.
And his mobile shield, man, that is so strong, especially if the enemy team's got a Widow.
It's definitely the strongest shield in the game.
Strong.
Yeah, it 100%. I think Sigma. It blows my mind that he's not being played more because he is so strong.
Just have the Junker.
On top of that, he's got great damage.
Yeah,
exactly. He's got a one-hit kill combo on Squishy.
Right, and that's why I also think that if we go to that spam meta, right, I think he's part of the reason for it because he fits like lock and key into that spam meta and is going to enable it better than any other tank, right? Like he is going to be
his ult is a game-changing ult too.
It is. I mean, it's good with nano. It's a good nano target. He's just a good nano target in general because again, he just cranks out damage. Oh, I forgot they changed his accretion damage too. You can one-hit KO squishies now. You can hit one-hit combo them with an accretion double left click.
Yeah, that's what Marlon was saying.
Yeah. So you can I totally forgot about that. So yeah, man, yeah, it's hard to make an argument.
Like his left click is basically.
I have no problems with making him the first S tier right now.
Yeah, I kind of.
I was gonna start off with A, but I didn't know about the whole one shot combo.
Yeah, I forgot about the accretion thing too. Yeah, he's really good. He's really freaking.
And he's another one too that like he can just throw a couple left clicks into the back line onto like a diver, and they almost have to immediately get out because they are going to shortly die after.
Yeah.
Another thing is a big chunk of his health is shield, so he's got some sustain.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And not only the sustain from his shield health, but obviously he's got the best barrier that we just talked about, and he's got a pseudo defense matrix, man. Like that.
Yeah. The defense, that goes back to like where I was saying, like I wish we had a defense matrix. I wasn't even thinking about Sigma. Sigma could push through that same choke,
Yeah,
he would actually probably do a lot better.
He would be the better. Yeah, he would kind of be the better option. The only thing he can't do that D.Va can is contest high ground in the same way, obviously.
But he has range, and it's not like it doesn't do damage. Exactly. It's like he's just kind of annoying them with some damage.
He can poke. Yeah, he can just straight poke people out of areas, right? Like straight up.
Yeah.
So
I have no qualms.
I think I'm fine with him being S tier as well. All right.
The big boy, Winston.
Let's Winston. All right.
So apparently, I don't know if this happened in the last beta or this beta, but apparently, because I forget who said it, but apparently when you hold your right click to do the charge shot, it doesn't just auto fire anymore. You actually have to release it now. I don't know if that's actually true.
It still auto fires. There's a timer.
Yeah,
okay. No. What it was? Sorry. What it is it takes less. It takes less of his ammo.
Maybe yeah. They did buff that.
They did also lower his shield health though.
It's on like a really low cooldown, right? Like it's like 8 seconds or something like that, or 7 seconds.
I mean, it's the same as it's always been, but they lowered the shield health from 800 to 700, and they also increased his ultimate cost, so he charges his ultimate slower as well. So he caught a couple nerfs. And
I still think he does too.
If I didn't know better, man, if I didn't know better, I would assume his fucking shield had like 10,000 health because nobody shoots.
Nobody shoots it. That's the thing, dude. You just need people that'll shoot the damn thing. I feel like I take down his shield by myself as like Junker Queen, or even when I'm playing like Sojourner or something. Like I have to shoot it like I feel like I'm shooting it by myself, right?
And the worst part is like by the time the thing fucking dies, he's already got another one on deck ready to go.
Yeah.
It's just like
here's my thing. I think the shield nerf is almost irrelevant because people don't shoot shields. But even if you're in higher ranks where people know to shoot shields, the main value of Winston is being able to isolate people and cut them off. And in a 5v5 structure, that's going to happen more often because people play more spread. And when you're in a 1v1 against a Winston, you're not popping that bubble on your own, right? So he's going to be able to bubble dance you while you're fighting. And by the time anyone comes to back you up, he can leave.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't think
it does pretty good damage.
So here's
pretty good damage too.
Here's the thing. I do think the shield nerf affects him a little bit because I think if we're talking competent players should be shooting the shield. All right. Second of all, I don't even necessarily think it's the shield nerf though. For me, it is the more highly enabled support line that makes it more difficult for him. Discord, Rex Winston. It causes a lot of problems for him. Second of all, Junker Queen Rex Winston. Okay.
Right, but Junker Queen and Winston really shouldn't be fighting.
You say that until the Junker Queen just sits on her back line and waits for the Winston to dive, which I've done. I can't even count the number of times.
I guess we have to consider Junker Queen, but I don't think she's really going to be much of a factor.
I don't even necessarily think it's just her though. I don't think he's S tier. I think A tier would be fine. But I think that he does, unlike last patch, I think he does have times where he is going to be struggling to stay alive now. I think a lot of that is on the buffed support line. And part of that is going to be with some of the brawl of Junker Queen. I think Orisa can more effectively deal with him now. I just think it's just enough. I'm not saying he's bad, obviously. I think he's still very good. I think there's just enough that pushes him down there where I don't think he's in the same tier as Sigma.
Okay, yeah. I want to make when we say buffed support line, what changes are you referring to?
No, there's no changes to the support line. It's just they all have this unnecessary confidence where they just feel unkillable. That's what I think. Like he's more referring to, because nothing really changed with the supports.
No, they definitely.
The only changes to Forest Gods were nerfs. The passive got nerfed, Ana got nerfed, and I don't think anyone else got changed.
No, so hold on.
Mercy got nerfed. Mercy got broken.
Mercy's a whole other thing. We'll get
But
to
like
Mercy
even
sometime.
Zen, who is like kind of dominating right now, didn't get any changes from the last beta.
Right, but I think, dude, let me find what I'm talking about. Hold on one second, because I'm pretty sure there was an additional change there that we're forgetting about.
Yeah, because like the problem I'm realizing with supports is like when I'm like kind of brawling up front, and all of a sudden I see a Zenyatta up front because he just feels unkillable. That's what's kind of like throwing me for a loop, because I'm used to kind of him in the back, maybe trying to.
Well, and that's kind of where we have to keep in mind the context of this list, because most of the matches we have are an absolute shit show with nobody doing anything properly.
Dude, I think it's
like a Zenyatta on a front line in a reasonably balanced match should always die, like straight up. There's no reason for him to be there unless he's just absolutely.
Okay, this is what I'm talking about. So we are only taking into account the most recent patch. You got to remember that when we made that original tier list, there was, I think, either 1 or 2 patches after that. Okay, so first of all, yes. So first of all, BAP is significantly better now.
Oh yeah, BAP got that one change.
He now heals 50 instantly. Is 50 health instantly on his shift, and then 50 over time instead of 100 over time. That's a big buff. He has the ability to stay alive much longer. The instant heal portion is doubled on targets that are 50% or lower health, right?
Yeah. I remember that change.
Yeah. And then obviously the Mercy change was, man, Mercy just...
Mercy's like, that's one that's kind of hard to talk about right now.
Broken, so like, I don't even know, like...
And then, the bot grenade change. Zenyatta got his extra shield, his new passive ability.
We did the tier list after that.
Yeah, you guys did the tier list after that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Brig got her knockback doubled on her shield bash as well.
So that's all in the same patch. Then we did our tier list after that patch.
Did we?
No, I think
No, we didn't, because we didn't take into account the Sojourn changes this patch. We specifically weren't considering the Sojourn changes, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I know for a fact when we played Zen, it was after he got his passive.
Maybe so, but it may not necessarily. Well, we don't necessarily. I don't necessarily want to look at the old tier list, but
but like this would justify where you guys put him, and you guys put him in B tier. You guys wouldn't have put him in B tier if
I had to fight to get him to B tier, mind you.
Yeah, you guys wouldn't have put him. You guys would not have put him in B tier.
And maybe it's residual changes from everything else, dude. But I don't think it's just a change in support temperament. Supports are just stronger. They feel stronger.
I think it was the meta shift, man. I think the meta shift is what made.
I think it's one of those things that these changes have been around for a while. It just takes time for.
And that may be the case. It may be a perception thing.
Because again, we did a similar thing with Brig, where we were like, Brig is probably good, but nobody's playing her well, so it seems like she's bad. And lo and behold, she's a Terra now, and nothing changed.
Right. And I'm telling you, dude, supports are self-sufficient now. They can actually do things. They can peel for themselves. They are survivable. And I am noticing this very heavily by being somebody that plays a lot of flankers. Okay?
Yeah.
Supports are significantly better now, and they are significantly better at dealing with threats that try to dive them, regardless of if they have any help from tanks or DPS or just themselves, right? Yeah. Supports are way better at dealing with that backline. And it's, again, whether it's a mindset shift or whatever it may be, supports are just straight up performing better. And that has a bit to do, and especially with Zenyatta's prominence, I think that mixed with Junker Queen's ability to deal with him, mixed with the Orisa changes, which I also think she is better at peeling him, and things of that nature, I think Winston is just barely bumped from S tier to A tier, in my opinion.
I don't know, man. I feel like Junker Queen just kind of throwing a lot of this for a loop, because she's fun to play, but she's not a tank. So it's making a lot of these other characters seem so much stronger because she's not really doing anything to manage them.
Here's the thing, right? Even when she counters specific heroes like that, and this is a general statement, so this isn't necessarily going to be a strong piece of evidence, but this is just kind of anecdotally my thoughts. Is like there's a lot of times when I'm playing with a Junker Queen that I can tell there's just a hole on the team with like no one able to hold any space. Like regardless of how well the Junker Queen and the rest of the team are playing, it's just difficult against some tank matchups because of that.
It can be, yeah.
And so even if she counters someone on your team pretty hard, like Winston, that lack of space containment is very hard to overcome to really make
right.
that like,
And I'm not necessarily making the argument that like Junker Queen's going to be some like S or A tier tank or anything, but she's very prominent right now. People are playing her, and I do think that mixed with Discord, mixed with a big part of it too is the fact that Brig is being played a lot as well. That also hurts it.
Yeah.
I think as a whole, the support line that is currently in meta does not favor Winston and his dive antics. And I think that does just enough to bump him from S to A tier. A tier is still strong, right? Like I still think Winston is very strong in most cases. I just think with the popular picks right now and what people are going to be playing a lot, I also don't necessarily think he does very good against Sigma, which if we go into a more poke-based meta, I think Winston will start to struggle a lot more, right?
Well, I feel like Sigma and Winston's a skill matchup.
It can be. I think...
I don't think one or the other necessarily has an advantage.
Maybe. I think it just depends on the comp supporting them.
Because it's very but just in a vacuum with those two 1v1, if Winston manages his bubble correctly, he can always damage Sigma, and Sigma has a chance to miss his big cooldowns, because none of his defenses matter to Winston.
Yeah, but I'm considering I'm considering it more along the lines of if you have a Sigma and you're also probably running a Zen with a Discord, or also possibly also a Brig, right? But I understand, like, yes, 1v1, yeah, I agree. But
also, like, Winston's gonna have a lot of support too. He's not just gonna be fighting the backline and Sigma on his own. If he's fighting those three people, he's gonna be fighting with some of his team.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, again, it's like you really can't take away from like his distract factor too, because like even if we go into the spam meta, I know you're saying like he might struggle a little. If you have 4 people spamming down one hallway and Winston's in the backline, all 4 of those people are going to have to stop spamming down that hallway to deal with him, which is then going to create a grip of space for your team.
That's another thing too, because Winston demands attention. If you not focus him, especially in a meta with like Zen, right? If you let Winston jump on your Zen and he knows how to not get kicked away by Zen immediately, he kills Zen quick, and you lose that Discord advantage, and you probably lose the fight after that, honestly.
Yeah, but if he doesn't, he gets kicked away by Zen, and then he can't do shit.
Well, but again,
it's like then he jumps out. Like
it's a positioning thing to know how to land that jump, and we're making the assumption that a decent Winston player will know that positioning distance.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I still think Winston's incredibly strong. I just don't think he's S tier. I want to be kind of picky with our S tiers here, and I just don't think Winston. I think there's just enough
I think I'm okay with him being A tier, but I still think he's stronger than you're giving him credit for.
I mean, I still think he's incredibly strong. I just think there is certain things that are going to start to become more apparent as we move forward and like have a little bit more time in this beta, where I think Winston is going to start to not necessarily fall off. I think he'll still just be strong. But
like once we get back to real Overwatch where Junker Queen kind of just fades away, like I think he's definitely going to be in contention with that S tier spot. Maybe.
And again, that's what A tier is though, right? Like that's like they're on the cusp of it.
Yeah, I personally think, but right now it's really hard to tell because he's not really being played because you have the new hero hype. So it's really hard.
I've been seeing quite a few.
I see a lot of.
Winston. We're already kind of past the hype phase of Junker Queens, and she's still getting probably the most playtime overall. But it's not like Sojourn where she's in every single match, every single game.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
You're seeing much less Junker Queen be Junker Queen matches nowadays.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think she's going to start falling off in popularity as well. I think she's incredibly fun to play, and actually, obviously, we're going to start talking about her right now because she's next. So
yeah, I think she'll end up in Roadhog's old position of a lot of people play her because she's fun, even though she's not great.
I do actually think she still has a little bit more effectiveness than Roadhog and Doomfist. I kind of want to move her at the bottom of C tier.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay. I'm not comparing her to current Roadhog. I think I'm just comparing her to like how people have played Roadhog historically.
Yeah,
it's like he's never the best pick, but he's really fun, and a good player can make work with him. And I think she's just kind of replaced that as he moves down.
Yeah.
No, but
I
I completely think she's D tier. Like she does almost nothing for the team. She is a
she does though. She has possibly the
completely a fun
as
but she
opposed
builds
as opposed to
she builds it
Roadhog,
so
she has
slow.
possibly the best ult in the game right now.
Right, but
That
she builds
alone-
it so slow. She might get it every
okay, so
2
yes,
fights.
in most cases she builds it kind of slow. You can build that shit like pretty fairly quickly though if you are effectively landing knives on key targets.
Thing is, like if we go into the spam meta, she's just gonna get completely shit.
No, spam meta, she will just get destroyed. 100%.
And like we've even like
gets
when we were
crushed by
talking
spam
about
meta.
when we were talking about some of these other tanks, we pretty much just pointed out a huge blatant hole she has where she
I
really
agree.
can't do much unless she's right on top of someone.
I agree.
So without
And
a favorable matchup for Junker Queen,
she
she's
does
just gonna
have
get shit
favorable
on.
matchups though. That's the thing.
If you were not
comparing
in that favorable matchup, that's
okay,
what I said.
but here's the thing. But if we're comparing her to D tier, I don't think Roadhog or Doomfist has like any favorable matchup at all. Whereas I think there is small situations.
Right, so Roadhog is specifically going to struggle in that matchup, but Doomfist, on the other hand, I watched you multiple games struggle against a Doomfist as Junker Queen.
When?
Because you would land your knife on him and he would just kind of disappear. You would occasionally get a pullback on him.
Yeah, you're gonna get a pullback on him. But
here's
the thing with Doomfist, though.
He immediately ults and he's on your backline, and you have to use a bunch of your resources to go and try to deal with him
And most of the time, he's dealt with pretty easily. Like he dies a lot of times if he doesn't save a cooldown to get out almost immediately. When he E's, my knife hits him. That is a guaranteed hit. I can hit Doomfist more effectively with that knife than almost any other character in the game, because as soon as he E's, he has such reduced movement speed that he is a guaranteed hit. And then as soon as he tries to shift back out, I got very good at this over the past day. As soon as he tries to shift back out, I can pull him back in. And at that point, he's probably almost dead. I have killed a ridiculous number of
I don't see a
Doomfists.
world where Junker Queen is over Doomfist. That is just ridiculous.
No, it's not. She is
completely
100% stronger.
You just being biased.
It's not. No,
I mean,
Russo, you're not going to sit here and accuse
I'm
me
okay
of
with her
biased.
being C tier.
Like, if we're not going to throw Winston into S tier and you want to throw her into C tier, that's just ridiculous, man.
I don't see that as the case, though. We've already gone over the fact that she crushes Reinhardt in the game that Reinhardt wants to play. She is better in matchup than D.Va, even if D.Va and Rein both have more, quote, tanking capability. I can agree with that, right? The tanks that she gets shit on just straight up by is Orisa and Sigma. Those two tanks just almost completely shut her down, right? And
so that's shit on her, too.
Who?
Zarya is going to completely
Zarya also shits on her. Yeah, we haven't got to Zarya yet. But yes, Zarya also shits on her. Okay, but she does still have favorable matchups. I think at this point, having played a shit ton of Junker Queen, I'm not trying to be biased, okay? Because I think you should, at this point, know me well enough that I can enjoy a character and have a pretty unbiased opinion on where I feel like their actual effectiveness is. Okay, I'm not one that's going to sit here and try to upsell a character just because I enjoy playing them. All right, I have never done that.
I don't know, man. Because like we had, it was 2-1 on putting Winston into S tier, and you put him into A. And
no, we had a discussion about it, and then Marlon said he was okay with putting it A tier. If you
if we had an A plus tier, that's where Winston would be.
I agree.
Depending on how big A gets, like we might need to do that.
And also,
my problem is like, even if you were to, the Junker Queen, she's still fairly new, so it's hard to say in capable hands here. But like, I can't tell you if I was playing something like a soldier or something that's kind of in the middle of the ground, I feel like Junker Queen does literally nothing for me. I have more fun playing with the Junker Queen when I am not a DPS, when I am supporting, and I'm playing something like Lucio where I don't even have to play with Junker Queen.
Right? Yeah.
Like,
I
fucking
agree. That's probably the case.
And I think that character is completely useless.
So here, I think you're associating your time playing with her though, because
this is other people's opinion.
You want to let me no. You want to let me finish my statement so I can actually like get my thought out here. Okay, so what I'm talking about is, yes, the time that her team has playing with her where she's not providing any tank value, yes, I think that sucks for the rest of the team. That's why I think she's also still very low rated. And as a tank, she does still struggle because her actual tanking capabilities can be a bit of a struggle, even in comparison to things like Reinhardt and like Diva, right? So, but what she does do well, I actually legitimately think she can do Doomfist's job better than Doomfist. Okay, she can effectively get. I know this sounds crazy. She doesn't have the movement Doomfist does, but she can effectively push into an enemy's backline and obliterate supports and backline DPSs in a way that Doomfist can't do anymore. She's got.
Right, she can't touch high ground. Period. Like she could try to throw a knife up there, but if she misses, then she just has to ignore them. And when she can't hold up a shield, she can't.
Right.
She can every 15 seconds nullify 100 damage for your team.
Right.
Like
yes.
That's not like we're comparing her against other tanks. She's not.
Right.
Really
I'm comparing her right now against the characters that you want to put her in the same tier with, which is D tier. Doomfist provides less value than Junker Queen in a way that he doesn't even do what old Doomfist used to do at a good rate anymore. She
right,
does
I get it.
She does it better.
Doomfist is on the down right now, but at least Doomfist can contest the high ground.
Yes, he can contest. What does Hog do to contest high ground?
Nothing. That's why she's above Hog. I didn't argue that, not one bit.
Right.
She's definitely above Hog, but she is not above Doomfist.
So in Doomfist contesting the high ground, though, like if he goes up there, he has no slow to hit with his shift anymore. He can CC people, but if he doesn't use Z first to get charge off of it, the punch does barely any damage. He does still do a little bit of damage and can serve as like somewhat of a pseudo assassin, right? But he does his damage is a drop in the freaking a drop in the ocean compared to what Junker Queen can dish out right now. Okay, so if we're talking pure damage,
well, and here's another thing. Contesting high ground is just a weakness of hers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a strength of Doomfist. But on the flip side, I think she is stronger in more overall scenarios than Doomfist is.
Right, which is what my point is. Yeah. I think there's more scenarios.
In this spam meta, this is the reason why Doomfist is still being played in Overwatch League. In the spam meta, you have to try to stop them from shooting. Junker Queen can't stop them from shooting, period.
I don't think Doomfist is going to do any better in the spam meta than
he's going to then draw the attention away. She's not. People are just going to ignore her like we do.
Doomfist
is completely ignore her.
Doomfist is going to jump in and he's going to get hit by a rock from Sigma and he's going to die immediately. That's what's going to happen if we go to a spam meta.
Okay, but so then what is Junker Queen going to do in that meta? She's just not Junker Queen. Played, period.
I mean, probably, yeah. I think that'll be a very negative meta for her. But she's more effective at dealing with dive right now, I think, even though she can struggle with certain aspects of dive depending on what characters there are. She can also somewhat deal with it if she's effectively peeling for her backline. That 100 instant HP from that shield can save a lot of people, believe it or not.
That's her only redeeming quality. That's literally her only redeeming quality. Plus her ult is a game changer, but her ult charge is so slow. And so until they give her the ability to, I don't know, maybe add the ability for her to charge her ult a little bit faster.
You keep saying her ult charge is so slow. I was on par with every Ana that we had, keeping up with her ult charge in just about every game. I might have been slightly behind or slightly ahead. I don't know, man.
I literally, as Ana, when I was playing Ana, I literally built 2 nanos because you even told me
in one case. Yeah, that happened one time.
It happened a lot. I just don't play too much Ana because that's what Adam was playing. But I was significantly farther ahead of
you. You can ask Adam. I was on par with him in ult charge almost every game.
I'm sure you were. But Adam was also playing Respawn Simulator, and he said that multiple times because he was constantly being dived, and there was nothing we could do about it.
And here's what I was wanting to say is, one of the biggest issues I see with playing with Junker Queen right now is that Junker Queen kind of like makes you want to be very aggressive. And when you are up against a dive team, that leaves your team stranded. And the correct play in that situation is for Junker Queen to stop playing aggro and sit on the backline. Yes. And because that doesn't happen very often when you're playing with Junker Queens, it makes her feel awful against dive. When realistically, she just needs to switch her playstyle, and it's not as bad.
I agree.
It might not be the best dive counter, but it's a lot better than her ignoring the dive.
I definitely agree with that. And that's something I started doing later on. I definitely wasn't doing it at first, right? Talking about my own play. Because she doesn't want to be super aggro. But
you run into these Junker Queens that are like, oh, I have fucking 15,000 damage and my DPS has 7,000. Well, it's like, yeah, because your fucking DPS is dead 24/7 because you were doing no tanking.
I understand that, Russo. Okay, but again, we're talking about if somebody is competent on the character and what potential she has, right? And my argument is not that she's a good tank. I don't think necessarily that she's a good tank, right? But what I do think is that I think she has more upside than Doomfist and Roadhog right now. At the very least, in more situations, even though she has situations she gets shit on completely, she also, in addition to having, I think, more neutral situations that is more beneficial, her ult is at least 4 times more valuable than both of their ults combined.
Right. Which, yes, like I said,
which I think is just
the best part of her
enough.
kit is her shout,
and I think
her
that
ult.
is just
Aside
barely
from that,
enough.
She just doesn't do much.
Right, and I agree with you. I think all of the stuff that I just said is barely enough to move her at the bottom of C tier instead of D tier.
Because why not just put her at the top of D tier? Because she's only barely better than those two tanks. Well, only barely.
Because I think she's enough to be playable right now. I think you can see situations where she is drastically more playable than both of those two characters in D tier.
I would like if it came down to where there's a situation where somebody is like, hey, I'm thinking about playing Junker Queen. Like, no, please just pick Zarya or pick.
I think you're like a little
Winston
jaded from the really bad Junker Queens you've had that
because
that absolutely don't do anything.
No, it's not only that, because I've played with you more than any other Junker Queen.
I was not a good Junker Queen for like a mass majority of that
like Brandon was saying earlier, he was not peeling for dive properly, and it hurt.
I let you get your point off, now please let me get mine. So it's not only off of ours. I've been watching a lot, and I've been listening to people talk about Junker Queen, and they're not very fond of her.
I agree. I have also
like nobody is fond of this character. Like I get it, you are having and she looks like a ton of fun, but I don't think that justifiably makes her good.
I don't either. Russo, I have not disagreed with you.
Then why are we trying to throw her into C tier?
Because why do you think C tier is good?
No, it's playable, and I don't think she's really that playable.
I think
there's 4 or 5 tanks that are playable in every scenario than her.
I think there's just as many scenarios that you can effectively play Junker Queen as you can play Reinhardt. And I mean, I don't see how you don't see what we're trying to say here when I say that just because you have a lot of bad Junker Queens in ranked right now, she has.
I'm not even comparing it to what I've been going through.
Okay,
it's purely research.
I mean, if you're talking purely research, I can point to a number of people that have said that Junker Queen is a completely average tank, right? That she is completely average in the role right now. I could point to a bunch of people. Frito said that. Karku's said that. I can point to a couple tweets from a couple pros that have said that. Like, I've done just as much research. This is not just me pulling from my own gameplay or watching it in the games that we've played, right?
I get it.
Completely average.
Like, I get it, Reinhardt does struggle. I do get it that Reinhardt still struggles in that matchup and whatnot. But, like, I don't know. I
think she's the bottom of C. I think she's at the bottom of C tier, despite winning the matchup versus both D&A and Reinhardt.
Is there like a D.5 tier to put her in?
I mean, I would be fine with that, to be honest. I
guess, do we want to get C minus or D plus?
Like I think she edges out Doomfist. Like you guys, I'll give you guys that, because the Doomfist slow really does cripple him. But like she just does like almost nothing for her team. Yes, she has an absolutely game changing ult, like 100%. That ult.
I mean, she has a fight,
and when it is paired with supports, like the fact that like it is just like the width of that ult and like how it hits everybody is just insane. Like. I'll give you guys that, but outside of that, like her shout is good. I like the movement speed on it. I like the temp health because it's instant, and with how high the damage meta is right now, it is good. But outside of that, she does nothing for your team. I find her more as a hindrance on my team than a plus in every form of the way. Like I would much rather a grab than her ult. I would much rather a slam than her ult. I would much rather a Risa pulling everybody in, forcing them to use their movement skills so then I can dive in on them after. Like there's even Sigma's ult. There's so many more ults that like I would just much rather have that are slightly not as strong just to not have her in my games.
Yeah, I mean, Again, I'm fine with throwing her down a little bit. I don't think I'm the person that sounds biased here, though. If I'm being honest, I just don't.
No,
I
like,
think you really
my
don't like
problem
the
was
character.
is like because she's useless. She's fucking useless.
I mean, I think she's very meh. I don't think she's useless. But
Meh.
yeah, I think
Yeah,
we can.
you're right.
I think we can do a D plus for her. What do we want to call D plus here?
Fucking barely playable. I
Junker
don't know.
Queen.
It's fine because she's probably gonna be the only one there.
Probably we'll do barely playable just to keep things semi-neutral.
If you want to have a good time and not ever get out of gold, play the fuck out of Junker Queen. Have a blast. Enjoy the game. I'm fine with that. But like,
I actually think her pub stomp ability is actually gonna be pretty high. I'm not gonna lie.
once you start getting into the higher ranks and you get more competent players, she's just gonna get dookied on. Like, there's really nothing she can do.
I don't know. We'll see.
Proper positioning. Like,
I think we'll
proper crossfires and proper positioning. There's nothing a Junker Queen's gonna be able to do.
We'll see.
I just want to point out we have just now finished. Well, we're not even finished with tanks yet. I got like 35 minutes left, so we're probably gonna have to take an intermission.
We might. I mean, Junker Queen, I feel like was gonna take up most of our time, anyways. We'll probably end up having to still, but we'll see. Okay. Last tank is Zarya.
I still think she's one of the strongest tanks in the game.
I think she is pretty strong. B or A tier probably.
I'm definitely A tier. I kind of thought S, but I can't really think of a justification for why, so I just say A.
Yeah, I think A is fine.
Yeah, and if we are leaning towards the spam meta, she would fall out of S tier almost immediately.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So I think all in agreement on that one, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Very cool, very cool. All right, so now we move into... That's all the tanks, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. I think the tanks are going to be the most controversial out of everything.
I agree.
Yeah. I just, again, Junker Queen's new, and it's like, there's... Even if she doesn't get any buffs, which I think she will, but even if she doesn't, I think there's still a lot of room to figure out where her place in the game is. Yeah. So we'll just have to see. Because, again, kind of like what we did with Brig in the last thing. Like, none of us really could think of any reason why Brig would be good, but there was that thought that, like, maybe with a better playstyle, she would thrive. And it turns out, people have learned to play Brig now, and she's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like me and Marlon kind of hit the nail on the head on that one with the last list. It was exactly like we saw the potential there. Just nobody had actualized it yet, and now we're seeing it. Like she has this hyper aggressive style that we'll talk about once we get to her. So first one's Ana.
I mean, she's one of the strongest supports in the game. So Nano is insane.
Nano is really good. Yeah, I think she's an easy A tier, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the only reason she's not S is because she did get nerfed, and I think the whole support line has gotten so competitive now that like there's a lot of valid reasons to pick other supports over Ana.
There is 100%, and I think, and here's the thing, Ana I think is the biggest winner of the support passive, right? I think the support passive is such a monumental buff for Ana. It is actually crazy. She can peek out and take chip damage or just random poke damage and not have to waste her nade to heal herself. That is freaking huge, dude. Jesus Christ, it's massive. Right? She received that small nerf to her nade, but she has so much opportunity to use her nade so much more aggressively now that I almost feel like I'm getting antied way more than I used to. Right?
Yeah, that one couldn't really peek out without getting fucking antied.
Dude, actually though, right? Like I felt like I spent half the match purple. Right. And so I think even though her anti-nade technically got nerfed, she has so many more options to use it aggressively now because she does not have to use that to residually like heal chip damage that she just barely takes over time. Right. Like that, the passive is such a huge buff for her. But yeah, I think A tier is totally fine. Baptiste, next.
I think if we're again going back to the same thing, if we're going into that whole spam meta, he's going to be huge.
Yeah. I think Bap is
huge, and also... with these new buffs to his healing, his burst healing, because I feel like that's like kind of what he's always struggled with was like this, like if people are getting low, he's spending so much of his resources where now he doesn't really necessarily have to devote completely everything to trying to save a couple people. He can kind of just top everybody off almost immediately.
Yeah, and here's the thing: he's probably the best support in the game. Just having an oh shit button for everyone to like stay alive. Right? Yeah. His immortality field is crazy. And now in addition to immortality field, if someone is below half health, he gets an instant 100 HP boost to their healing. Literally instant 100 HP to anyone under half health with his shift. That is crazy. That is huge survivability in addition to the immortality field. I think he's also an easy A tier in my opinion. And if we see more play from him, and if we see a shift to a spam meta, like I really think we're going to, I think he's going to end up being S tier possibly. Like he's really really good.
Yeah, I think A's right now, but he's definitely teetering on S. All it takes is a meta shift.
Yeah, I think he's super super solid. All right,
Hate to say it,
Brigitte.
but I fucking hate to say it, but she's strong.
She's fucking really strong.
I still think part of that is people refusing to shoot her shield enables her to be way more aggressive than she should be able to get away with.
Yeah, part of that is like a bit of a knowledge check type thing, right? Like if people just realize like just shoot down her shield, it shuts down half her.
And if you break her shield, she dies through her ult. Like she's worthless without that.
Man,
shield,
I tell you what though, I freaking ran against a Brigitte earlier today, and she ulted, and I literally could not kill her or any of her team with Nanoblade. I was so pissed, dude. I literally sat there. I had used my dash already, unfortunately. I sat there and swiped away on a freaking Ana that was getting healed by the Briggle and could not kill her.
Well, and unfortunately, I think that's just because the way her healing and her ult work is just really strong against burst damage, like Nanoblade.
Yeah.
Because I think with sustained damage, like
it's
without
much better.
A shield, her ult's not much of a problem.
Right, but I'm just saying that like her ult is still really freaking good. It is just a tier below Lucio and Zen ult in that survivability.
Oh, right? For sure. Her ult is definitely strong. And the thing is, like, while she's ulting, you basically have to kill her before you can kill anyone else.
Yeah, dude, it's still, sometimes it's really frustrating still, her ult.
Yeah.
So, is this another A tier? I feel like
I'm leaning more towards B, just because
I was thinking B, because if we are thinking competent players here, competent players are going to shoot.
I was going to say, like, if more people would just focus down her shield,
okay,
she would lose a lot of her effectiveness.
I'm good with that. I'm good with B.
And the thing is, the other thing is her shield is her mobility too. So if she gets aggro and you break her shield, she's caught out.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, and I do think she has a lot of peel tools. She has the ability to make it hell for divers. Right, her boop distance off of her, like her shield bash being like double distance now. She can close the gap, peel for her actual other support if she needs to, and then just sit there and brawl with a lot of backliners. That, I mean, a fucking Winston dives back there and he can't do shit to actually fight a Brig, right? Yeah. Much less if she has another support helping.
Yeah, and I think she's kind of caught in between the meta because she's really strong against dive, but she's also really weak against spam. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I definitely agree. But yeah, B I think will be fine. Lucio, right? Lucio's next.
I mean, I think Lucio's just like your all around like good secondary support. He's probably one of the better ones aside from Zen.
I kind of want to go S because you can just kind of throw Lucio wherever. He's still really hard to kill. He's still really valuable to your team. Crazy good ult.
And he's a fantastic assassin.
Yeah, he can still be effective. Now he does.
Like, he's just so adaptive. Like he really doesn't have any weaknesses.
Right now, I still think he struggles a little bit for that Reddit Lucio assassin playstyle right now. Because if you have people that are more apt to play Brig, more apt to play Zen even and Moira, stuff like that, he struggles to assassinate those types of backlines. But he does obviously still maintain that kill potential.
And even if one part of his playstyle is struggling, he's got so many options. He can just play somewhere different. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. No, I think S is probably fine for him. Man,
this one's a hard one because
I feel like we kind of have to put her in F right now because she's so broken.
Yeah.
Adam is having the worst time of his life playing Mercy.
Man,
even with the bug where GA doesn't go on cooldown, nobody wants to play her because it feels awful.
Yeah, but do we put her in F because she feels awful to play or because she's actually bad?
I mean,
no. I mean, Mercy's always gonna have like maybe not in like high elo
because
she's
like
always gonna have a play.
We could just make a broken tier where like we can't really evaluate her failure.
Yeah,
but let's say they fix GA. Where would we put her if they fix GA?
Do we want to go on assumption if they fix GA? Because I like.
Because I feel like on one hand they could just revert it because nobody likes it, but on the other hand they could be like stuck to wanting it to work that way for some reason and try to iterate on it and like band-aid fix it instead, and that's not going to end well, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
So who knows how long it'll take for her to get back to a playable state.
I almost feel
because
like
I think from the feedback of literally every Mercy player, she's basically unplayable right now.
I was gonna say actually, based on description, I was gonna think to put her in barely playable with Junker Queen. I mean, just because I still think she has her same Mercy effectiveness. You can still play Pharmacy.
Still works with the Pharah.
Yeah, you can still play
works with the Pharah.
Pharmacy. You can still pocket an Ash. You can still res people, which is still incredibly strong. Like I've seen people still get battle mercied like a motherfucker, right? Like it just so I feel like maybe it's just barely playable, right? Is that
I'm okay with that.
okay?
That works for me.
All right, cool. Man, can we just delete this character already? Jesus,
we
dude.
do. She still has one of the highest outputs for healing.
I mean,
so
she could
take
be
that into account.
in F tier because she's a bad character.
Bad character design, bad play style.
Guys, we're not supposed to be biased.
I know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Realistically, I
she has
kind
to be
of.
at least A.
You think so? I was actually thinking B tier along with Brig, to be honest. I don't think she's necessarily.
The thing is like she can start her healing passive.
I actually think
she doesn't. She doesn't have the weaknesses that Brig does, though.
But here's the thing:
she's kind of like Lucio in that she can kind of be wherever she wants.
Yes, but I think
reasonably well.
I kind of think BAP just does her job better, though. Like BAP does everything that Moira wants to do, but better. Just because he's a little bit more difficult to play, I don't necessarily think that matters because we're assuming competent players on each character.
Yeah.
And I think once you get into that level of like base competency, her value actually drops a little bit. Some of her inherent value comes with how
she's being
easy
played in Overwatch League.
I mean, yes, and I'm not saying like again, I'm not saying she's bad. I just think that some of her inherent value comes with how easy she is to be effective on, right? I think if you have those people,
good.
No, I was gonna say I think if you have those people that if they were able to get the same amount of effective, like efficiency out of BAP is just straight up better, right? And if BAP is a better Moira, then I just feel like she should probably be down in B tier.
So my argument is that Moira has much better mobility than BAP, and that makes her more flexible to pair with different comps.
I mean, yes.
She has the ability to instantly be in the back line and or front line.
But BAP has a little bit better stationary survivability though.
Like, right, but I mean, I think Moira outputs more healing than BAP too. Like party.
I actually don't agree with that anymore. Though. I don't think that's the case anymore.
The problem with BAP is he has to. Every time he shoots one of those things, if he's not, if they're not all clumped up, then he's not healing everything.
Yeah, technically, BAP's total healing output is the exact same as it has been. But also, my other thing is BAP is like gonna be a lot weaker in like a brawl comp scenario, whereas Moira really cares.
Yeah, she fits in everything. Yeah, she definitely fits in everything, right? Like,
and so I think she would also be an A tier for different reasons than BAP.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's fine.
It pains us all to put her there, but we got to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm gonna secretly move her down here when you guys are not looking.
But, I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to throw her. I would love to throw her in the fucking don't ever play her category, but
you scum of the earth, dude. Okay, last one's Zen. I think Zen, dude. I actually legitimately think Zen's S tier.
Good Zen is going to carry pretty much everything.
100%. Dude, I feel like every Zen is Jonak right now. He's freaking nuts. He is a plague on the game at the moment.
I will make one argument for him to be an A tier, and that is his offensive value is insane for a support. However, he does have much larger weaknesses than the rest of the support cast.
Yeah. But I mean, Discord is so strong right now with shields.
That's the thing, man. Is that it's his offensive capability in and of itself, his own offensive capability, plus Discord orb just eating up every tank that is common right now. Discord chunks Orisa, it chunks Winston, it like removes Junker Queen from the game. Like it is so incredibly strong. Doomfist, good fucking luck with Discord on. And yeah, sure, his healing is not very high, but the offensive capability that it brings is crazy. His survivability has been amped way up by both his HP increase and the kick. The kick doing extra damage is, I think, more valuable than what I originally thought it was going to be. Only 15 damage.
Is super valuable.
But god dang, that 15 damage feels like it actually hurts. And like That in addition to obviously the knockback. It's just, and here's the thing. I spent all morning and other days too playing DPS characters. Zen is just inherently harder to, he's harder to kill in the backline now. Like just straight up, that extra health and that extra bit of survivability gives him just that much extra time to hit you in the head with 2 balls, right? Like, and it happens a lot. He's got what, 225 now?
It's 225.
Yeah. So
and it's mostly shield too, so he has a lot of self-sustain.
I mean, he's got the healer passive anyways. So, but like, man. I think Zen is a terror right now, and he's being played. He is a basically must pick in Overwatch League at the moment. Like he's being played constantly. I just think, and obviously, let's not forget, he's got one of the 2 best support ults in the game, regardless of anti.
Yeah, I was just say his ult is a game-changing ult. Like, granted, there's not a Junker Queen ulting your team when you ult, but
right. But like,
and his ult is inherently stronger now that on his nade has been nerfed because it does not last the entire ult anymore.
Exactly. I just straight up,
and
I think he works in every comp. And also, if we go into a poke meta, Zen is the best support in a poke meta.
Yeah,
like straight up, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and he's still good with dive too. So
exactly,
I can concede it.
Yeah, and any competent Zen, like a good Zen, is going to carry most of the games he's in.
I think this dude is a monster right now. I think he's nuts.
I'm gonna need Marlon to play with me so I can get out of plot.
Yeah, Zen's nuts, right? For sure. All right. On to the DPS, right? That's all the sports?
Yep.
Yep.
All right, on to the DPS. Let's go. Man, that's crazy that basically all the supports are like S through D tier.
And what's fucked
Mercy
up too is
will
Mercy
probably
be up there.
She'd be up here if it wasn't for the bug, yeah.
Yeah.
Or for the new little change thing.
I think Ashe is overall a good here. She's good against the dives. She's a fantastic poke, and pocketed with something like a Mercy, she's a terror.
I think we had her in B last time, and I'm okay with her staying there.
I'm okay with her being B. Yeah, 100%.
I definitely agree. I think B's fine. I think she's very serviceable and can do mostly anything and kind of work in any comp that she wants to. And she doesn't really have any like glaring weaknesses. I also think Bob is a bit of an undervalued ult at the moment.
Yeah.
Because he can almost be a pseudo second tank for the duration. Right.
For sure.
So
and you have to deal with Bob. Like you cannot just leave him alone. You got
to do something about it. So yeah.
Now I did watch a Zenyatta literally one clip my Bob, which was pretty unfortunate.
that shows nuts. I saw that. All right.
That was wild.
But yeah, I think B tier is fine though.
Man,
poor Bastion.
I think Bastion.
I think Bastion's F tier.
I think he's. I kind of do too. I really do.
Like I love his new playstyle. And his kit is fun as hell, but his hitbox is so bad.
Dude,
he does not survive to do anything in any situation.
Yeah, and I think
he legitimately has no redeeming qualities.
And it's crazy because his hitbox has always been like that, but it's never been such a glaring issue because he's always been considered the stationary turret that's always going to be behind a shield, so the hitbox didn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Now he's mobile. And all of a sudden, hitboxes matter to Bastion, and his is terrible. He just dies to everything, dude.
They need to put him on an Atkins diet or something.
No, okay, here's the thing. I might have an argument to move him to D tier, and that's of all the Bastions we've been fighting this patch, nobody's been running a shield tank with him, and I do think he might have some value with a shield, especially now that he can move up with the shield.
And I think if we do move into that poke meta, which he's probably not going to be your first pick, but I think with a Sigma in front of him, he is going to be stronger.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, so do we want to move him to D?
I think we should move him to D tier.
Yeah, that's fine.
Marlon.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about like where we're kind of headed to. And
Marlon just needed a pity vote because he actually likes the Bastion playstyle.
Maybe so.
Okay, McCree. Can we? This guy needs to go on the same tier as Moira. You're an asshole if you pick this.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Okay, let's make an A- asshole tier.
Right.
Because I mean, Kree he's still good. It just sucks that they made him so easy.
And it really sucks to me because used to good McCrees I associated with being like really good players, and now I just see people on McCree. I'm like, bro, you just
Magnet Grenade might be the most crutch ability this game has ever had.
Probably, I think kind of so. Yeah, like I used to love picking McCree in deathmatch, right?
Yeah, I mean, same. He was almost always the character I played in Deathmatch.
All the time.
He's like one of the best heroes to warm up with.
Yeah,
you know?
you warm up with him.
And he's got a fun, simple playstyle.
Yeah, and you like had the ability to hit flashbangs on characters to warm up your aim after you hit the stun, and like it was just like he was a super fun character. I will not touch this character anymore.
I know. I think we're on agreement that we just don't play him on principle of him feeling cheap as hell.
Yeah, that's
but
pretty
I mean,
much
he's
it.
still.
But
I mean,
as far as like effectiveness, I think he's still good.
Yeah, he's still good. I mean, his ultimate is still, especially with no shields in the fucking game, it is insanely strong. With the damage reduction being put on it, he is so hard to kill.
Yeah.
Well, now his role has damage reduction now too.
Yeah, like he's so hard to kill. If you don't have a Zenyatta fully charged on him with a Discord Orb, he's not dying through his ult.
All right, Echo.
I think with the right person, she's gonna dominate games.
And the thing is, with all this talk of meta shifting, I think she fits pretty well into most comps because of how flexible her mobility is.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I was playing a lot of Echo this morning, and then I've also this is not just off of that; it's off of like looking at some stuff as well. I kind of think she's S tier.
Yeah, because she could also team is missing something that the enemy team has. Her ult makes up for that immediately.
And she's really good, dude.
I can agree that because she basically has the same sort of flexibility in her kit as Lucio does.
Mm-hmm. And the
she
thing
can
is,
be wherever she needs to be to participate with the team.
Yeah, and the thing is, she can be a backline assassin on par with Genji. She can play in the spam meta with the best of them, right? She's one of the best spam DPS, just straight up, right? She has her ult is a get out of jail free card, or a planned high value ult, right? It can be either one. She has a lot of flexibility with her ult. It can be one of the best ults in the game. And again, literally, it can be one of the best ults in the game, or it can function exactly like Doomfist uses his ult, which just allows her to go as absolutely aggro as possible, and then boom, hit a get out of jail free card, and then still get value, right? She becomes so priority target number one. She has so much value, man. And I was playing her today, and man, she is freaking good.
Even with the nerf to her laser, you really don't feel it.
You don't feel it, man. She still does so much damage. She's got some of the highest bursts in the game still. She's cracked, man. She is cracked.
No, a good Echo is going to be a terror on games.
I think she's S tier. Everyone good with that?
I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Okay. Genji.
He's B tier.
He's good. Yeah, he's good. Without supports though, he does.
I think he's dropped down actually from the last beta. I think he was much stronger in the last beta. I think he has drastically become less effective with the supports that are being favored right now, the tanks that are being favored right now. I think he's
still really good, and his deflect is one of the best counters to spam meta.
Yeah, 100%. I think he'll do fine in that, and he's still got tons of potential. I think B is fine. Hanzo.
I mean, Hanzo's Hanzo. You have to be a good Hanzo, to really be effective on him. Yeah, I think playable's fine with him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Not much to say there. He's Hanzo.
Now this one might be my hot take.
This is gonna be an interesting one.
His fucking damage output now that they upped his projectile speed and the way they brought back his trap, he's kind of fucking insane now. You will get hit with a second left click before you realize you got hit by the first one.
I died instantly earlier in a game because I got hit by 2 of his bombs at once.
Dude, and here's the thing, right? A good Junkrat can figure out the angles to do that intentionally. Mm-hmm. You shoot one bomb low, one bomb high, and they will hit at the same time.
Yep. And also he got to change. He can throw his trap further now, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but he can effectively get it in areas where you used to not be able to, and it just gives
the ability to get it around farther into a corner or farther into a push to try to get a tank
without overextending himself as well.
Yeah,
and also I'm not 100%. I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure they did not revert the setup buff from the last beta, so I think it still sets up faster than
it does, dude. They're freaking dude. Oh my god, I was so pissed the other day. Okay, so
it was so funny.
I ulted as Doomfist. Landed from my ult. My character model has landed. The Junkrat sees me, throws the trap at my feet. I am trapped before I can move.
Yeah.
I'm Excuse me?
Honestly, I think they need to completely revert Trap back to the first beta.
I agree.
I do not think it should be a hard CC.
Dude, that shit was wild. I was like, that is literally just a hard counter to Doomfist now. Just another reason to move Doomfist down to D tier. Like, that was just like, you can't ult a Junkrat, dude. Like, just straight up, because he will trap you.
And I think Junkrat is at least A. I don't think he can move to S. I don't think he can move to S because he still has strong weakness against long range. But when you're in his range, dude, he is a monster.
He is. Man,
and with that extra projectile speed, he can shoot further. So pretty much the only people outranging him are going to be Widows, Pharahs, and Echoes.
Man, A is still a tough sell for me on him. I was thinking high B tier. Because remember, we had him like D tier last time.
That's why I thought you guys were gonna like C or D on him. That's why I was going to take because I think he's A tier.
Do you?
Yeah, I genuinely do. Dude, like that. I can't tell you how many times I know,
but
two of
them.
I mean,
even if you
put him there, but
even if the enemy team has DPS, kind of off counter Junkrat, he can just do his best to avoid them, and because of how he can shoot angles, he can still safely pressure your team. You know.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's not Junkrat.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
She might be going.
I'll give in on the Junkrat for A tier.
We might need to think A and B tier a little further later, but we got 10 minutes before I gotta go.
Well, how long are you gonna have before you can come back?
It's like an hour-long meeting. We usually fill it up pretty long. So
okay. Because we're about to move into a section that is, I think, going to cause we're going to have a lot of talk on some of these characters.
May is going to be one of those, so we could probably move May down, and then we can talk about her later.
May is going to be one. Sombra's going to be one. I think Sim is going to be one, possibly.
You think there's going to be some debate on Sim?
I don't think there's going to be a debate on Sim. I
already have
something set in mind. Here, throw her up there. Let's talk about her. Let's talk about it.
Does anyone not think Sim should be F tier?
No, I think. I was gonna say niche because the only thing she's got going for her is the portal. Everything else about her is terrible.
So
they don't.
Did you see? Hold on, Russo. Have you seen the changes to her portal?
Yeah, they're terrible. They are awful.
I
was only saying
giga nerfed, dude.
Yeah, no.
I think they're just trying to get sim mains to quit the game so they can just delete the character.
Right? I was only saying niche because the teleporter to move your tank around.
Bro, I don't even think that's viable anymore, man.
I'm totally fine with that.
Here's the thing.
Totally fine with that.
Here's the thing.
I'm totally fine.
2CP is not a thing anymore. The only map she's viable on anymore is Lijiang Tower. That's it.
If you want Junker Queen to contest the high ground, you need a sim, man.
Oh
and it's really just one point on Lijiang, you know? Like, you don't really use her on the other ones. Like, I guess you could cross the gap on Garden, but it's not that valuable.
Yeah. No, it's pretty much just Night Market. It's Lijiang Night Market. That's about it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that.
That is too niche to be considered niche, even.
Yeah, right? Even then, it's not like that niche is, like, insanely strong.
No, it's not.
It's like, okay, this is a strat you did. We're also on the point now, and we're fighting, and you're down to DPS basically.
Bro,
I'm totally fine with her being F.
She was already bad. She was already bad, and they literally giga nerfed her. She maybe would nerfed more than any other character in the patch, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like Aaron Keller must have fought against her in a playtest and was like, "Fuck this character, dude. Get her out of here."
Actually, dude, like God, I want to feel bad for sim mains, but they're sim mains, so it's like
fuck them, dude. Fuck them.
I have always empathized with sim mains to a small degree because the idea of a character that can construct physical objects with light is badass, right? I think there is the potential for a cool engineer type character there, but the reality of how sim is so boring and lame that in most cases useless that like the niche she has carved out as a teleport bot is just atrocious. Yeah,
she needs another rework, dude. I hate to say it. She's got more than anyone else, but she needs another one, dude.
And the thing is, again, I think her concept is super flexible. Like, imagine if we had her as a support character and she could build like ramps and stairs and walls and shit to enable your team to move around in ways
that would be insane.
Because then, like, think about it, right? If you could build a ramp or a bridge or something, it's the same as like a teleporter, but it doesn't feel as bullshit because you still have to physically go there, right? You're not just like, they're above us, fuck this shit.
So you change your turrets to healing instead of damage, bro. That'd be insane. That'd be so cool.
Yeah. I think with enough creativity, Sim could be a really cool character, and that's never been realized.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's unfortunate, but yeah, they gutted her, man. It's rough.
I think we have time to do Pharah and Reaper before he goes. I don't think these are
Okay,
gonna be too controversial. Because
maybe.
Pharah, without she struggles.
Or I want to say C.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
I kind of
playable. She's
agree.
definitely playable, 100%.
Yeah,
But without a mercy, like with a mercy, she's strong.
Well, in
But
some of the
without
new
a mercy,
maps, even without a mercy on some of these new maps, there's so many angles that she can do some pretty good play on her own. But it's very map dependent, and
like there's just you. Why wouldn't you pick Echo? You know.
yeah, pretty much. That's the thing. She lives in Echo's shadow now.
yeah, 100%. And that's
I think
because the thing is, not only does she live in Echo's shadow, but Echo is like her biggest counter as well. So if you see a Pharah, you just pick Echo, be better Pharah.
Break out the dogfighter.
Yeah, like while also
which is
freaking,
some of the coolest mechanics in the game is the dogfighting. Like that shit is so fun.
Dude, I mean, I still one of my favorite metas of Overwatch was like right at release when it was like Pharah v Pharah, and so you would just have like the dogfight in the sky above everyone else fighting below.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit that's so cool to me.
All right, well,
Reaper, I think he's playable. I mean, his ult's still huge. His tank busting is still relevant. You know.
Yeah, he's kind of suffered from losing the movement speed passive. I think that's what made him really strong in the last patch.
I agree.
A little bit, yeah. No, I think there's potential for a newer playstyle to develop with Reaper. I'm not gonna lie. I think he will at some points function better as a counter dive character than a backline assassin like people have been playing him recently, where they just TP in, try to hit him. And,
you know how
like,
terrifying it is to TP into a backline as Reaper, and then you notice there's a Zen back there.
Yeah,
and you just go,
I think like going back to an earlier example, if you have a Winston dive on a Zen, that Zen discords the Winston, and then Reaper's there to peel, that Winston's dissolved.
100%. Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, 100%.
That's why I
100%.
think Reaper has the potential to maybe be a huge staple if dive does become a little bit more prominent, but which I don't necessarily think it will. Options,
he does have some flexibility, right?
Yes, but
so I could see him being in B.
Yeah, so I kind of think I do kind of think he's B tier. That's kind of the argument I was making. I kind of think he's just barely in B tier. I think he's a little bit more effective than Pharah, even more than Hanzo to a degree.
Yeah, and I also think with how stacked A and B tier are getting, we might want to split them up a little bit further later.
Yeah, that'll be a discussion I think for once you get back.
Yeah, for sure. Because I definitely got to go now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the rest of these are, I mean,
other than Torbjorn, I think we're going to talk a bit about the rest of these though.
Yeah.
I mean, Widow could be an easy one. I don't think anybody has any qualms on her really. She stands in the meta.
Yeah, we'll